Halliday's sister. I met you one time. It's Mickey, right? Yeah. So one of the reasons why I'm here today is because Reed is a great individual. He's a mentor of mine. And so when I heard that not only could I come and see Brad again, but I could also help Reed out, I was excited to be able to come and talk to you. So you guys heard the name Vivint. I'm sure everybody's probably familiar with him. You see him on campus. And I'll kind of go through some stuff. But they asked me today to kind of tell you guys, or at least share some of the stuff that I've learned. A lot of people look at me, and at least they used to, and they say, well, how old are you? You look like you're 27 years old. About 5 years ago, I got ID'd in Vegas. I was pretty good. I'm 44 years old, so just so that you guys understand that. But I titled this for you guys because I feel like I'm one of you, and I hope that through my next 45 minutes that you guys can walk with me down my pathway, and I hope that there's something that I can teach you that will help you in your life from now until the time that you pass. And I think that the lessons that I've put up here are real. It's from the School of Hard Knocks. So if you want to take it from, I call it the Coyote Learning School, I've got these big, huge welts on my back, and that's how I learned. And I hope you guys will gain something for it. So there's 5 lessons at the end of this my presentation. I am hoping that you guys will have written these 5 lessons down. Trust me, when you hear the stories, you'll remember it. It'll all be relative. I'm very good at memorization, so I only want you to know 5 things. And if you walk out of that door and you leave and somebody said, hey, you went and heard Brenchley talk, what did he talk about? And you just get one of the 5, I'm totally cool with that. But as long as I got 1 out of 5, I think that this will be worth it. Now, I know that you guys have an hour and your time is very valuable. And so I do this little thing right here. This is my phone number right here. And I got my phone in my pocket. And I think it looks like there's, I don't know, there might be 80, 90 people here. So everybody I know has a cell phone. And so I wanted to make sure somebody at least took something outside of just one of my 5 lessons. So I have $100 in my pocket right now. And the 5th text message that comes to me that says this: knowledge is the purest form of competitive advantage. And it's got to be spelled right. And it's got to hit there. Actually, don't do the 5th. I'm going to do the 10th. The 10th guy that comes in and texts me, knowledge is the purest form of competitive advantage. You better have it all right. As soon as I get that thing, I'm going to give you guys this little dinero right here. Money. It'll be good. So, number 10. We'll see who's number 1. I should have done the race. I'll tell you what. The first one that comes through, I'm going to give $100 too. I got $100 for the first person. Hey, you guys aren't texting me. That's a bummer. Watch this phone blow up here in about 2 seconds here. I don't know. You guys are, come on. I know you guys can text at like 50 words a minute with your pinky. Oh, I'm sorry. Who do you think was the first one? It said it sent? I have I have AT&T. I just switched from Verizon. I'll go get my Wi-Fi here. Here we go. Wolverine guest. Here we go. Wolverine Wi-Fi right here. We got to have a password. All right, we're going. This is going to be good. You guys all send this text. Yes, you will. Date night. It'll be good. All right, it's on, but yeah, I think it did. Here, you do it. I'll get that in there. It's hooked up, isn't it? Who doesn't have cell phone coverage in here? You guys got like a blocker or something?
It's bad coverage in this part of the campus.
Is it?
Yeah. So it says you're connected. Yeah, you're on.
Okay, you go up
Okay.
and hit it, and we'll see if they go out. It might be the only one that gets through, but I'll save this for you. So Yeah, Brad's going to tell you. So a phone number will come across. Now, we're going to do number 1 and number 20, okay? So there's $100 right here for number 1 and $100 for number 2. Now I feel like I donated to the school. So I'm going to put that on Brad so he can't hit me up for another nonprofit thing. So that would be great. So I've officially given you guys something. So outside of that, somebody's going to be really happy. The rest of you guys, 2 of you guys are going to be happy. The rest of you guys are going to hate this. So, oh yeah, you better put that on there. If that's out, you're out. So it'll be the 21. So that would be funny though if you were the 20th and I called you. And I will do that. I'll make fun of you. You're Superman, right? Just kidding. We're good. Why do I want this to be your number 1 lesson? The reason why is because the one thing that I learned, I had an organizational behavior guy come and meet with me for 2 years while I was at Vivint. And he said, Brenchley, you always have to be learning. You guys are here on campus for that very reason. If I could take this room and the mind capacity and the energy, I could go and I could create another company and I could go and do wonders with it just by having you guys. If I took you guys and I put you there, if under one pretense, you guys always had the desire to learn and know knowledge. Now, why would I pay $200? Why would I take out of my pocket to pay $200 to you guys? You guys got any ideas? Come on, you guys got to remember, I'm a freaking coyote here.
So you have our numbers.
I got your numbers. Before, how much knowledge did I have about any one of you guys? 0. For $200, I got every one of you guys' phone numbers. Now, if I'm the coyote, to hell with meeting you out in the street and having the guys tell you to come sell summer. I'm going to take all these phone numbers, I'm going to put it in a dialer, I'm going to tell Todd Peterson he's going to ram the crap out of you guys, and I'm going to get an override off of all of you. So I'm going to actually make hundreds of thousands of dollars off of each one of you guys for $200 measly dollars. That's how you make money. And it only cost me $200. You thought I was giving? No, I'm a little coyote, dude. I do everything for a reason, right? So this idea, this knowledge is something that you need to captivate. And this idea, I really won't do that, but you get my point. Before I came in here, I knew nothing. I asked a simple question, I paid a little bit, and I got a whole bunch. I got all kinds of knowledge that came from that. Anytime that you guys want to text me, I've spoke several times at different colleges, and every once in a while I'll get somebody that they'll send me a text, hey, what do you think about this? I'd be more than happy to address any and every question that you had. But for the first time, never stop learning. I don't care if it's your first job, if it's your second, if it's your third, you continually grind it out. Get a book, write down everything you see. Go and take a look at what the managers do. Go and make sure that whatever you see from an executive standpoint of it, that you're watching how they administer. If you have a tough situation that comes up, go write it down and watch, because you're going to sit there and watch history happen. You're going to see a situation where the company's going to be like in strife that you work for, and you're going to be like, how did it manage itself? How did, in 6-8 months, how did we get through it? And write it down. If it went bad, write down what you would have done to make it better. Because I guarantee you, when you get into the position that's higher, you're going to have that same situation, and you're going to need to go it again. So never, ever stop learning. And it is pinging. Here we go.
Blowing up.
Okay, yeah, I hit the lottery. Here we go. Number 1. Oh, wow. Oh, dude. Peterson is going to love all this. Ooh. Dude, you keep on, who is 801-870-5814.
That's me. I'm a coyote too.
You are a coyote. You're texting me like 50 times. All right, congratulations, man. Here you go. Date night. There you go. Yep, that was good. All right, now we got 20. I hope 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And it was done right. Wow, that's good. And you only did it twice. 801-376-4786. Woo! Come on down. Little roulette, man. Congratulations. All right, man. All right, so remember number 1. Number 2, I'm going to just kind of go through. I'm going to let you know about my background. I'm going to talk to you about totem poles. I know you guys all want to know about totem poles. The formula for success, and then just a little history. So you know about this intro from door to door. You heard the $2 billion number, but let's get real, okay? A coyote looks the way the coyote looks for a reason. He's scruffy, he's scrabbly. I'm just going to kind of go through. 1998, it started at a company called Safe Home Security. After Brad and I were doing the garbage gig, I went there. That was the craziness of me leaving. In 2000, formed a company called Pinnacle. My brother-in-law and I did that together. You guys have probably heard of that company. It's no longer there. And in 2003, I left that company and went to a company called Apex. We switched our name to APX, if you guys know, and then we formed a company called 2Gig. We actually made our own equipment. We decided that would be a smart idea for us. In 2011, we switched the name from APX to Vivint, and then in 2011, we started a company called Vivint Solar. So a couple companies in there that are pretty prominent, and I had a pretty good success there. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to have a little session here where I get to kind of brag a little bit. This was Apex's growth before I came, and then this is the growth after. And I call it the Brenchley curve. So you guys write that down. It really is. I mean, I'm like pretty impressed. I'm like, dude, that was me. Yeah, I was the only reason why. No, that's not the case by any means. But this was kind of what did happen. I did come in 2003, and that's when we started to explode. We brought some new ideas in. I was at a former company with Pinnacle. We had some ideas. We brought them over. We were able to execute a lot better over at Apex, and it was a great thing. I want to go through and take a look at our growth. We were obviously all over the nation. We actually went into Canada. We were down in Puerto Rico as well, and we actually went down to Australia, which is currently pulled out. One of the things that I had the opportunity to be able to go do, which was kind of crazy, everybody said, well, how many security systems have you sold? Like all my guys, they all come, they're all punks, right? And they all think their poop doesn't stink, and so they come up and they want to like defame me. And they're like, dude, so how many accounts did you sell? I'm like, what did you sell last year? 350. I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. I did my 1 millionth install last year. So I always tell everybody I did 1 million installs and over the time that I was there. So if you go through and take a look at this, as far as the track record, from a CAGR, if you guys don't know that, this is a huge growth rate. It's very fast. It goes through and takes a look at a couple things, but 68% is very, very, very impressive. And we had it. This is our headquarters here, and you guys saw the big deal in the newspaper for $2 billion. So that's my accolades. I'm going to put it out there. But why am I telling you this? I got to give you a message from all of these things. And this is my second lesson, okay? That there is no such thing as a straight line. You guys saw that kind of came along, and Brenchley shows up, and all of a sudden it goes freaking flying through the roof. And but there's this thing that just comes out, and it says, hey, look, does success happen in life? And do we just automatically get into a company, and does it just grow, and you see this huge growth rate, 68% CAGR? I mean, we're talking, man, is that what it is? Actually, there's a thing that that the Chinese believe in, and it's called this Chinese noodle. And does anybody heard about the Chinese noodle? This is very philosophical. It's in all your books. Again, remember, you're coming to the Coyote School of Business. It's that there is no such thing, and success doesn't happen in a straight line. What it does, and you can't see this, can you guys see that? Yeah, you can see that instead of it being a straight line, it's actually this process that happens, that in order for you to go to a greater height, before you go to that greater height, you actually have to go backwards a little bit before you can go to a higher place. And you can kind of see that. And I truly do believe that. So I want to talk to you about some of that arrow that was going backwards in my life. Okay, so you heard this great story about Shawn Brenchley, and man, he grew all these companies 68% CAGR, and Vivint Solar, and all the rest of the stuff. But let's just kind of go back and look at some of those like backwards moments in my little time chart there. In 2012, this was 10 months before we sold for $2 billion. we were bouncing up against our covenants inside of Vivint. Now, you guys know that. Everybody else will probably go out and look at it and say, I didn't know that. And everybody at Vivint would probably deny it. But I'm here to tell you that you guys tell them, come talk to me. What it means to bounce up against your covenants is when the bank loans you money. We had $750 million of debt. And when we mismanage our business in a way, it trips these covenants. It can be little numbers that they put around it. And if you do if you make a mistake, it trips a covenant. And what it does is it contractually releases our ability to run the company. We were bouncing up against it. We were right at the edge of doing this, where bankers, of all people, would come over, take over our door-to-door business, and run it into the ground. Instead of us running it, they were 10 months before we sold for $2 billion. That was what was happening to us. It was a very, 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 very stressful time, and it was great. It was not a good time. So in 2010, we had partners, 2 partners that were very close together. They were my partners. There was 3 of us. There's Todd Peterson, Keith Nelson, and myself. After 11 years of them grinding it out, they separated. 2 friends, best friends, went through this horrible event, and they switched. They separated, and it was a terrible thing. In 2006, we sold half of our company for $25 million, and I lost 98% of it. That's a bad time. 2006 is a bad time to get a little bit of money because 2008 hit. And I lost all of it, except for 2%. I have a piece of property down in Mapleton that I sold for $280,000, so out of that. In 2005, we were doing business with this company called Monotronics. And when we left them, the owner put a personal vendetta against us and hired these lawyers to put us out of business. It was an absolute 6 months battle of hate and bitterness, and he did everything he could to try and put us out of business, and it was a terrible, terrible time. In 2003, remember there was Safe Home Security. I had the same issue that happened with Todd and Keith, happened to me personally. My brother-in-law and I, who started Safe Home Security, he was my best friend. I worked with him every single day. And in 2003, he made the decision to kick me out on the street. And I left. I didn't even have a choice in the matter. It was a good choice, obviously, as you can see. I had to make some lemonade out of lemons, but it was a bad thing. I left that organization, and that's what kind of led me over to Apex. It was kind of one of the, at the time, it was one of the worst things that happened to me in my life. But it was a bad deal. In 2000, before Vivint had a company called Safe Home Security, the majority partner backed out of the deal, and we were going to sell the company, and he was going to sell it to us. So I had 5%, my brother-in-law had 10%. We were at this small company called Safe Home. We had just grown it. The guy told us that if we did it again, that we would get all the company. And all we had to do was give him 51% of the profits the next year. So we put everything on our credit cards. I was newly married. This is when Brad Mertz was telling us that, this is like 2 years after I left being with Brad. I had $20,000 with credit limit because of BFI let me put stuff on it. I got my credit card was it got extended to like 20,000. So I maxed out my credit card. I put 18,000. I maxed it all out. We put $20,000 on the credit card to run the business, and my brother-in-law took his car and sold it. So they had one car. So we had $24,000. We had about $26,000. We went to the bank and we said, "Hey, we got this great company. Look at us grow. And can you give us some money?" And they said, "No." I'm like, "Well, you're a bank. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to give us money." He's like, "No, we're not going to give you any money. I'll tell you what, just because we like you and your sister works at the bank, for every dollar you give us, I'll give you $2 back." And so we gave $26,000 to them, and they doubled it back. We got about $52,000. And this was all on the pretense, guys, all on the pretense that I owned 5% of Safe Home, and my brother-in-law owned 10, and this other guy owned all the rest of it. So we put all of this stuff on our credit, went to the loan, got it all done, made it all happen, had a great, successful year, went to the guy, took him a check, and said, here's 51%. And he said, sorry, we didn't get the contract in writing. I'll see you next year. Bummer deal. Oh, man. That was a tough one to swallow. 2003, we're going to go the other way. In 1998, I worked for my dad. Before I worked for BFI, I worked for my dad, and his business partner canned me. That was great. You guys ever been canned by your father's partner? Yeah, that was a great one. But at the time, that was a bad day for the old Brench. In 1992, my girlfriend dumped me, found out she was sleeping with the entire town. Freaking bad news there. In 1989 is when I graduated. I graduated with a 3.0 GPA. First time I took the ACT, I scored 18. Now, some of you guys are laughing and some of you aren't. I know what you guys got. The guys that weren't laughing, they're like, I got 16, right? That's all right. It's okay. When I was 9 years old in 1980, my parents put me on this diet, and it was called the Fine Go diet. Now, the first time I presented this presentation, I really didn't know what the Fine Go diet is. I just knew I was on it, and it was very embarrassing. I was young. I had to go to school. I had to eat this like food. It was like Whole Foods, and it was awful. It was terrible. My family joined me on this thing. And I did the research. Back then we didn't have the internet. So this finding right here is me doing a presentation about 8 months ago, looking up what is Feingold diet for. And it's freaking ADD. I have had ADD my entire freaking life, and I never even knew it. I got diagnosed by myself on the internet last year. I got ADD. So, why do I tell you this? Remember, nothing in your life is going to happen in a straight line. You're not going to see successes. You're going to get out of this, you're going to graduate, you're going to go find a job. 6 months later, the job's going to get canned. And you're going to have to start all over again. Okay? But what you're going to find is that if you can remember this Chinese noodle and you can remember that success is not measured by the fact that, I just had great things happen all along. I gave you guys my stuff. Look at that pedigree. Man, how cool was that at the very beginning? Man, wouldn't any one of you guys want to be that? But I guarantee you, if you guys went through all of those the turns that went backwards, you probably would look at it and weigh it out and say, nah, I'm okay. I'm going to go do something else. Nice job, Brenchley. Way to take home a check, right? But that right there is a huge, huge lesson. Do not quit, no matter what you do. Grind it out. And don't quit. So remember that. Number 3, formula for success. I got one more $100 sitting on there, and I don't want anybody to answer this until you just think about it for a little bit. So A plus B equals success. I'm sure there's probably tons of other formulas. This is my simplistic one right here. Is this A plus B equals success? What is it? We just talked about one. In order for you guys to be successful, I promise you this, you have to fail. Would any of you guys thought that the formula for success was the fact that you had to fail? This whole idea that our lives go through this process and that if we don't get grinded out by life that we're not going to learn these lessons, it's true. In order for you guys to be successful, you have to fail. It's just a matter of whether or not you guys are going to be able to do something to succeed, right? So I'm going to talk to you about this before I give you the answer. I'm going to talk to you about totem poles. Anybody, you guys probably saw or know what a totem pole is. Everybody saw it like in the cartoons and stuff. But I'm going to kind of go through and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about totem poles just for a second. I got 20 more minutes. So totem poles were not a religious thing, okay? They are found in the Northwest from Alaska all the way down the coast to Washington. This is one in Victoria, British Columbia. There's one in Alaska, and you can see they kind of do these figurines. They put these things up there, and you can kind of see exactly what's going on. Like they have these like animals and stuff. There was nothing that they were commissioned by the wealthy leaders to represent their social statuses and to remember important people. And they did like legends. They had like, they'll put like, hey, you remember that bird when we did that dance at that festival? And wasn't that cool because that guy was the king at the time, and remember how good he was? And they just wanted to take it and put remembrances of what happened. A good example of a totem pole is looking at somebody's Instagram post, right? Same thing, nothing different. It wasn't religious, wasn't anything. It was just like, hey, I'm celebrating the fact that I did this, or I graduated from school, or whatever it was. In our day, a totem pole is Instagram, right? Just looking at our stuff. Didn't have anything to do with it. So there's a saying, though, and I love this saying. It's called the low man on the totem pole. Everybody heard that? Like, hopefully I'm not, don't be the low man on the totem pole. Everybody's kind of got that, right? So why did they say that? So this low man on the totem pole, if there were all these guys, the rich people that were sitting in there, they put the guys at the top that were remembering that they wanted to have them remember, like good attributes, whether somebody had died or whatever, they put them on the top. But at the very bottom, they started creating these totem poles, and the bottom ones were the ones that they wanted to make a lesson out of people. And they wanted to teach people that, hey, don't do what this dirtball did, because if so, this is what's going to happen. So they put them, don't be the low man on the totem pole, okay? So I took this thing, and I wanted to be able to go through, and I want to use it as personal motivation. I said to myself, what do I want out of my life? How can I get motivated? These ups and downs and this whole Chinese noodle baloney, and I got to go through this failure thing. How can I get through it? One of the things that I did was I created my own totem pole. I said, I want to know who are the people that I want to aspire to, that I can look at in my life, that I can learn from. And then I wanted to be able to look at the other side of it. So I'm just going to go through this. They can be personal heroes in your life. They can be people that you look up to. But go take a picture of them and put them somewhere, okay? And then rank them. And talk about what you admire about them and what qualities that they had that you wanted to strive for every day. And then go look at them. Okay, here's some of mine. I'm going to go through. I have 7 people. They're currently on my totem pole. And I'm only going to give you the 3 examples. And I put this. You remember Steve? Yeah, he's on the top of my totem pole. He worked with us at BFI. And I'll tell you a quick reason why I have him on my totem pole. And it's been with me for my entire life. He would go play golf every single week. I don't know if you remember this. He'd go play golf. You remember seeing his clubs? Yeah. They were worn. They were horrible. They were in this freaking thing that looked like it had been given to him by his grandpa. And we'd go out and we'd play this game of golf. And the very first hole, he would get up there and he'd put the ball in the bush, like 5 feet off. And he'd go and he'd take the bush and he'd take his 2 clubs and he'd mark his ball and then he'd hit him again. And I'm like, hey, that's called a mulligan. You just take that ball, you put it back up, you tee it off and you go. And he's like, no, I'm going to play this. We get done by the rules. He said, I'm going to play it by the rules. We get done with this terrible game of golf, 18 holes. He shoots like 130 because he takes every single freaking stroke into consideration. I'm like, Steve, dude, you run this entire company. It's worth millions of dollars. Like, listen, do yourself a favor, go buy you clubs. He's like, I am going to buy me clubs when I break 100. And I'm like, you ain't breaking 100 in a long time. Just do this thing. You take this pencil out. It's like the best thing in your bag. It has an eraser on the top, and you erase this number, and then you put another score in there. And when you get done, you shoot 99, you go buy you a set of clubs, and then you can play better golf. He's like, Shawn, I get what you're saying, but I got to tell you this. I don't cheat. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't cheat? This is golf. It's just you against you. He's like, no, I don't cheat. If I went and bought myself a club, it wouldn't mean anything to me. I'm going to go and I'm going to get better at my game, and I'm going to continue to do this until I get the score of 99. And when I do, I will reward myself by buying clubs. And he said, Shawn, let me tell you a principle in life. He said, do not cheat. Never cheat. And it is only you who you cheat out of. Doesn't matter what you do, never cheat. And that has stuck with me for my entire life. Do not cheat. So when I get to a particular bad situation and I know, I always think of Steve Batchelor. I always remember this guy taught me this lesson that even though it doesn't make sense, do not cheat and you'll always be governed right. So the next one, there it is right there, sorry. It's John Sassine, you know Johnny? Yeah, big guy, 5 feet tall, probably 4 feet wide, awesome guy. Sings, great singer, and he owns Rocky Mountain Recycling right now. Taught me to play that stupid game of golf. And this is what I learned from him. And Brad probably had a couple of these. We would have these knockdown, drag-out fights. I mean, I was emotional, shaken inside, like business-wise. We're saying, you're an idiot. And he's saying, no, you're an idiot. And we're going at each other's throat. And I'm calling him bad names. He's calling me bad names. We're calling each other idiots and we go through. The next day I'd show up and I'm like frazzled. This is my first business experience. And I go in and I'm like, hey, what's going on, Shawn? How's your family? And I'm like, good. And he's like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I really appreciated our conversation yesterday. I took all the notes down and I think we're going to go through these things. This is what's going on. And he walks off. And I'm like, dude, I seriously want to punch him. Like, I don't want to be around the guy. And the next day he comes in, he acts like nothing's wrong. I'm like, dude, how can you not say that this knockdown, drag-out fight wasn't something that I should take personally? He's like, don't take it personal. It's just business. Like, if it was a family issue, yeah, take it personal. It's just business. This is just business. Business, personal. Personal, business. Separate it. And don't take things personal. And I'm not going to take things personal. And if we have a meeting like that, I love it. Get it out. Like, have the communication. And then the next day, move on. Yeah, go ahead.
Your brother-in-law follow the same route, or do you guys?
My brother-in-law?
Yeah.
We won't talk about my brother-in-law. So he's a good guy, though. We'll say that. I will tell you that time heals. That's another one. But harbor no hard feelings. And when you guys get into business, just remember, it's business. If somebody's telling you, they're at least communicating to you. That's a good thing. Like, take it in. Like, absorb it. Look at it. But the next day, do yourselves a huge favor and just come back and be like, hey, how are you doing? My life's good. I don't care about what your life is. Like, let's go. And I learned that from a management perspective and also from my other side. And I always had him on my totem pole. You guys know this guy, Todd Peterson. He's a pretty prominent guy. This guy has this, like, he's got a multiple personality thing. He's got this Jean Valjean, like, love in him that's, like, unbelievable. But then he's got this, like, Randall Wallace Braveheart side of him that he'll slit your throat in 2 seconds if it's for the right reason, right? And I love that about Todd. But why have a hero? And this hero, like, go put those people up on your totem pole. Like, celebrate them, look at what they do, and remember them every day. When you're having a tough time, look at them. But if you really want to get motivated, this is how you do it, okay? You go the other way. You take the low man on the totem pole, okay? This low man on the totem pole are the people in your life that said that you couldn't, okay? This is crazy. I've done this for a lot. I asked my assistant. I said, Tara, does this work? Like, I'm doing this training. I want to make sure it's all right. Will this low man on the totem pole actually work? Like, will it get you fired up? She said, what are you talking about? I said, well, there's these people that you aspire to, and everybody's heard that. But what about the people on the downside of it? What about the people on the bottom side? What are the people that said that you couldn't, that you shouldn't, that you wouldn't? The Laren Rasband that said, what are you doing, Brenchley? You're a freaking idiot. I said, would it work? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, who would it be for you? She says, my mom. I'm like, what? Your mom? Are you freaking me? She's like, oh, man, dude, if I had a picture of my mom every day and I looked at that, I'd freaking get out of bed and I'd go kick some ass. I'm like, your mom? And she's like, yeah, my mom. Dude, that lady grinds me every day. And she's getting up and fired up. I'm like, man, I guess it would work. So I'm going to tell you about mine. This is another guy you know. I won't tell you his last name. I worked with a guy early on. He showed up. He had these suspenders on. He had the finest pants. He had nice shoes. He had these pencils and pens that were worth $500. He had couplings in his thing. I mean, dude, this guy drove a BMW. It was the nicest thing in the world. I'm like, man, you look like $1 million. But when it come to work, guess what? He freaking was the laziest piece of poo I've ever seen. Like, I didn't want anything to do with the guy because he had this image that he was all of that, but his work ethic was none of that. And I put him up every day. I got a picture of the little bugger. I put him in there, and I said, I'll look at him every day. I'm like, I'm not going to be that guy, okay? I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be the guy that shows up looking like he's all that, and then he doesn't back it up with work and giving everything that he has 100% of the time. So Jeff's on there. Another one is Roger. I told you, out of all of the bad things that happened to me, Roger Curtis was my dad. Dang, I hope you guys don't know. I wasn't supposed to say his last name. He was my dad's business partner. And when I served a mission for the Elders Church, I came back, and the whole time, all I wanted to do was take over my dad's business. And I worked for him for about a year and a half. And I was going to move to Denver, Colorado, and they were going to pay me $24,000. He was going to need to take $12,000 out of his pocket and give to me. And when that time came, he came up to me and he said, "You're not worth $12,000. And he said, "I don't want any part of you." And he walked out the room. So my dad had to do the terrible thing of coming to me, who was going to take over his business, and say, "Shawn, I'm sorry, but right now you can't come and work for us." And so it was the saddest day of my life. So damn right, that guy's at the bottom of my totem pole. I got Roger Curtis that said that I couldn't, that I wouldn't, and that I wouldn't be a success. None of those. I will tell you that article, the 12 billion, just happened to be on a text message to Roger Curtis. I just want to let you guys know, hey, thanks for letting me go way back when. This wouldn't have been possible without you. So that was a good one. So Roger, and then Chad. And he's just the guy that didn't want me, pushed me aside, said that I wasn't, and that I couldn't, and that I wouldn't. And every day I look at those three guys, and man, I tell you what, I get out of bed, and I go freaking make it happen. All of you guys are in school right now. There are people that are telling you right now, don't go to school, that's the stupidest thing you could do. You need to go work. No, you need to get knowledge. Knowledge is the purest form of competitive advantage. I got to go get it, right? Don't listen to them. You guys have a vision, you guys go do it. And put those people that said that you couldn't, that you wouldn't, and everybody has them. But look at them every day, and when you get down and you're going through that tough time, dude, I promise you it'll power you through it. So, so formula for success. Anybody got this? Like, first one right there, I got you? Nope. Well, yeah, it was good, but that's not the word I'm looking for. So go ahead, up top.
Learning?
Nope. That's right, persistence. There it is. There is one thing that I can honestly tell you about all these guys is that they've all failed. These are my guys on top of my totem pole. They've all failed, and they've all persisted. There isn't a single person that you'll meet in your entire life that's been successful that hasn't failed, and this idea that they're just going to grind through it. There's a reason why you've heard this forever. The list of millionaires are more if they haven't graduated from high school than those that have. Have you guys heard that? Like this idea that, hey, they haven't. The reason why is because they probably didn't have a good degree, that when the going got tough, guys were bailing. They don't have a choice. They're like, dude, I don't even have a freaking high school degree. I got to go grind it out. That's probably why. And what did they learn from it? They learned from their mistakes. They learned from what they didn't, what they couldn't. And they got stronger from it. So, you guys remember the Chinese noodle? There's a persistence. Where am I going here? Lesson number four is you got to find those guys on the low side of your totem pole. Okay? And here comes lesson number 5. And then I'll be done. There was guys like Claire and Razban that were in my life. This guy, his name's Dustin Sampson. At Safe Home Security, when we started going, he was not the guy that shortchanged us by not selling us the company. He was his partner at the time, but way back in 1998, they had an idea that came that said that this self-install was going to take the business, and he sold Safe Home for $48,000 and said, this industry is kaput, it's done, it's over, it's going to be gone. That's when he said it. He was a visionary, right? I mean, we freaking did so many accounts. The Valley did so many accounts. We've done so many accounts. It was crazy. But he was the one that basically came up and said, hey, it's done. It's the wave of the future. The industry's going to be over. It's another guy, Jeremy Miner. He's actually really successful multi-level marketing manager. He said this about this time, 2002. He said, he was one of our managers. He's like, dude, there is no more doors that can be knocked. All done? All the markets in America are so saturated. We can't go sell. It's done. You don't need your diploma. Your diploma gets you in debt, and because you're debt, you can't find a job, so why do you even go do it? He's one of those guys. That's what he said. He said, there's nowhere in America that I can take my 12 to 20 guys and go sell alarms. The whole place has been knocked out. I'm done. He's out. He left. 2002. And you see the growth that happened afterwards. So, that's his comment right there. It's out of the United States. Puerto Rico in 2001, we had a guy that sold us these security, he sold us the equipment of security systems. He's like, man, you guys ever been down to Puerto Rico? I'm like, why'd I go to Puerto Rico? Like, he's like, just come down here and take a look at it. We go down and we look at the houses. If anybody's been in Puerto Rico, this is their house. Who needs a security system when you're freaking gated in? Like, would you think that a security system would be great inside that little thing? I mean, you can't do anything. Like, it's solid all the way around. There's like these gates. I'm like, we're not going to do good here. I got a freaking gate all the way around the house. Are you kidding me? Like, why would we go down and do that? We went down in 2002, about right around there, and we had two guys we had 6 guys. I apologize. We had 6 guys. 4 of them went home in the first week. They said it's impossible to sell here. 2 of them didn't leave, probably because they were the ones without the high school degree. They stayed, probably because they liked the beaches, and they kept on selling. And they sold, and we were starting to look at it, and we're like, man, these guys are selling like 2 a day, and they're like working like 6 hours. I wonder if we kept on putting people down there. So we kept on shoving people, and we kept on putting them down there. And all of a sudden, it had the higher forever. We had customers literally, like you'd be there selling a security system, and somebody across the street would come over and say, hey, can I be next? I mean, it was the greatest thing ever. Anybody that went down there, we sold so many stinking alarms down in Puerto Rico. It was amazing, and I never, ever would have thought about it. So here's your 5th lesson. You guys have to, when you guys get out, if you're in a job right now, and I know some of you guys know the statistic. When I was going to school in college, I remember them telling me, you're going to change, in the first 5 years, you're going to change employment 3 times, 3 out of the 5 years. I was like, no way, that's not going to happen. There's no way that's going to happen. 3 out of the 5 years, I'm out. Like, no way. It did happen. I changed 3 times in 5 years. But my thing to you guys is this. Even though you know that there's going to be a change, do yourselves this huge favor. When you get into any organization, you owe it to them to put on these long-term glasses. Look to the future. Things might change, okay? I'm not saying there might be a huge opportunity that comes and reroutes you, but for the time period, you guys put on long-term glasses. You look down the road at what the potential is. You look at the fact that I want to be the CEO. I want to be the Chief Information Officer. I want to be the CFO. Whatever it is that you guys want to go into. If you're in nursing and you want to be the head nurse, put those long-term glasses on. It's the best thing that you can do. When I see somebody come in, and it's even door to door, and they're like, I want to be here and I want to take your job, and I can tell that they have that mentality. I could see them be more successful than if they didn't. if they were the person that came in and said, yeah, I'm not going to do this. This is just a means to an end. It's dirty. It's door to door. Like, I'm not going to do this forever. I saw those guys fizzle, but the guys that I saw that were successful, not only in door to door, but in anything that they're doing, were the guys that put these goggles on that said, I'm going to go there and I'm going to do it inside this organization. I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to suck all the knowledge that I can, and I'm going to go be a success. I'm not going to limit myself to this idea of failure and have it happen. So here it is. Knowledge, number one. Number two, there's no such thing as this straight line. You got the Chinese news. Failure plus persistence equals success. When you're down, number four, you got to use that totem pole. Get that low man on the totem pole, right? And then just remember to put on these long-term glasses. Now, people always ask me this idea that that's out there, and they say, Brenchley, how were you able to help build this company that sold for $2 billion in Provo, Utah from a door-to-door program? And I'm going to use this example right here. First, you have to have ADD. Okay. So I don't know how many of you guys have ADD, but actually, I've seen everybody kind of pay attention, so that's good. Half of you guys that are leaving and walking out, they're the ones that had it, right? This is the secret. So if I took this piece of paper, and I'm sure that some of you guys have heard this, and I folded it over like one time, right? And I had this opportunity. If I folded it one time over, it'd be twice as thick, right? So I had one thing, and then all I wanted to do is I wanted to perfect it. So here's my perfection, and I'm just doing the same thing, not once, but I did it twice. So I created one office. I got 20 sales rep. I put 10 technicians. I know what I need to have, and I said, okay, now I want to expand my business. Well, I want to do 2. Imagine that. I just want to do 2 of those. So I took my first one, I incubated, I did it, and I said, okay, well, I can do it. All I got to do is do the exact same thing again. That's it, right? And then I said, okay, now I got 2. I got a little bit of money. I made some money. I'm not going to go spend it, pay taxes. I'm going to go invest it back into my guys, and I'm going to take the 2, and I'm going to turn it into 4, right? Just that simple. It's called scalability. You want to be in the mindset of, if I want to grow something, all you got to do is just scale it. If I've got 1 office, I can go to 2, 2 can go to 4, 4 can go to 8. How easy is that? All I got to do is find the right people and put them in the right place. If I folded this piece of paper, and I kept on doing it to keep them get there, how many times would I have to do it? You math guys, it's 0.09 of a millimeter thick, one piece of paper. If I had to do that, and they're 25 millimeters in 1 inch, and I did it one time, it's now 0.2, right? You guys are doing the math on this. If I do it to 2, it goes to 0.4. How many times would I have to fold this piece of paper to get to the moon and back? Give me an answer right there. I don't have any more money, sorry. I got $1. 5,000. You are a genius. Not. What do you think? 20,000 times. 20,000 times. Got no mathematicians in here. How many times?
Maybe 10,000.
I'm working you guys. It's going good. 10,000. 50. I'm getting there. So here it comes. Here comes the math. You ready for this? 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, 20 times. You're to Mount Everest. And if you go to Mount Everest on 42 times, you're to the moon. Now, how many times to get to the moon and back? 43. 43 times you can get to the moon and back just by doing something very simple over and over again. But I appreciate you guys' time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my lessons. And just remember, it's just these little tiny things that you do with hard work and persistence. Get through it, grind through it. I appreciate you guys' time. So if you guys have questions, I don't know what to do.
Let's give Shawn a round of applause if you have questions.